Bombay, 8th April 1989. Rani Khanna had arrived at 32 K Street at around 10:30 at night on she was to meet her friend Jia Rana. This was no ordinary person. Jia Rana was a big star in the film and music industry. She debuted at the age of 21 with her song collection of Zara Hole Hole and didn't look back as it smashed the music charts and the songs were the most played in shops and radios. As Rani made her way to the entrance, she found it odd there was no guard at the entrance point. Jia had a habit to send the guard to run some errands, often saying when questioned about being lax about security, "Who would want to kill me? I am loved by my fans." Rani rang the bell. She got no response. She tried a couple of times more, but again got no answer. From the outside, all lights appeared to be off, but there was no way Jia would be sleeping, not when she had specifically told her to come down at this time. Not overly concerned, Rani used the spare key she had to let herself in. She turned one of the lights on and called out to Jia a couple of times while checking for her in the rooms. Confused, she moved further into the house and went outside where the pool was. When she got outside, however, she found the lifeless body of Jia floating in the pool. Initially shocked to see her friend on this state, Rani was hysterical and chaotic before gathering herself and calling the police. Police arrived about 20 minutes after the call, along with an ambulance. Inspector Vijay Hazare led the initial investigation. He had the police search the home while also questioning Rani. On the rooftop, the police found a table along with 2 glasses and a nearly empty wine bottle. Observation of the roof found it was directly below the pool. It was theorized that Jia may have got drunk and stumbled to the edge before falling into the pool, but Rani disputed this claim. She admitted Jia did drink but was not a heavy drinker and would know where she would be at. Jia's body was taken to the hospital for post-mortem. Her death sent shockwaves around the showbiz industry and shocked her fans who were in disbelief that their beloved star had gone at the age of just 29. If the police hoped the post-mortem could help them with answers, they had their work cut out. No fingerprints were found and no marks or bruises to suggest a struggle. The examiner found traces of alcohol, but not enough to make Jia so intoxicated that she would stumble and fall down into the pool. He did, however, note her lungs were filled with water, suggesting drowning had contributed to her death. But beyond that, he couldn't say if it was foul play, an accident, or even a suicide. Police initially suspected the security guard, who was nowhere to be found at the time, and worked to track him and traced him to his village. However, they found he was there having learned of a death of a family member, and with nothing stolen or reported missing, they found no motive for him to have done anything and cleared him. The wine glasses became the focus as police attempted to extract fingerprints, but found both glasses had Jia's prints on them with no other being identified. Police retraced the steps of Jia's movement that day. She attended a studio recording where things went smoothly, and Jia was said to be in confident mood and didn't behave out of the ordinary. Around mid-afternoon, she gave an interview and photo shoot for the Fair Dusk magazine. She then returned home and, according to the workers, went to bed for a couple of hours before waking up at around 5:30 p.m. to get ready for a party held at a hotel in her honor. Police interviewed those who attended the party, including a doctor, Rustam, who stated Jia spoke to him for quite a while and seemed to be worried about something, and after being pushed, stated she was just stressing out due to some issues about her property. Jia left the party around 9:30, only attending it for just under 2 hours. Before leaving, she had contacted Rani to meet her at the house. From there, it was the police theorized she went straight home. The death was front-page news for several weeks, with papers devising their own theories, which didn't help the investigation much. The case was handed to CID following lack of progress and pressure from public and media. The investigation was led by Praveen Deshmukh, an experienced detective who was regarded as one of the best in law enforcement. However, 4 months into the investigation, the case was abruptly closed by seniors, stating findings were inconclusive to suggest foul play. But this was disputed by Pravin, who stated they had uncovered some interesting leads and were making progress. The media interest soon died down, and the case remained closed, with no further indication of any reopening. Questions remain as to why the case was closed and why there were contradicting statements given. Was something being hidden? Pravin certainly felt so in the interview given years later after his retirement. Pravin stated, "I know we could have solved the case. From what I had found, we were getting close to finding out what happened. I have no doubt in my mind foul play was involved, and we would have caught the person responsible." So, did they have suspects? In 1999, journalist Syed Karim, writing a piece on the case resulting in a book, Death of a Starlet. There were few people of interest. Suspect number 1, the producer. The first was Guru Kapoor, a top-shot movie producer who was known to be a bit of womanizer, involved with many female stars at the time. Guru Kapoor had met Jia during a shoot of the film, Carriage Number 7. Witnesses state Kapoor had attended Jia's room where, after a short while, screaming and loud voices were heard, before Guru stormed out with rage. When asked, Jia stated, "I gave him what was coming to him. He won't try again." This suggested Guru had made advances towards her and was rejected. Humiliated, he had Jia's role supposedly reduced in the movie. Editor Joseph Frank, involved in the movie, backed this claim. "I was there during the editing, and Jia's role was reduced to an extended cameo for sure." This incident, however, took place 8 months prior to her death, and upon further investigation, Guru stated he was in Goa at the time of Jia's death, supported by the hotel manager who personally handled his booking. Suspect number 2, the gangster. Ralph Dara was an underworld figure who was known to extract money from businessmen and celebrities. According to Rani, Jia stated she was receiving threatening calls from the underworld for money extortion, but ignored them as empty threats. Police had informers track Ralph, but he later was gunned down by a rival gang, leading to a dead end. A former hitman for Ralph, Chandu, stated Ralph was looking to go clean from extortion and move more towards politics, which would make smuggling easy for him. A hit on a famous star was further from his mind. Suspect number 3, the angry businessman. One man who seemed a likely suspect was Rustam Irani, a Parsi businessman with shady businesses and known to have a violent temper. Rustam had made his money organizing events from concerts to sports. On one such occasion, he had wanted to organize a concert involving Jia and a host of other celebrities. Jia wanted more than what Rustam was offering and also wanted a cut of the sales. After a lot of back and forth, they agreed. But 2 days before the event, Jia pulled out, stating Rustam had not followed through on certain terms and was taking a bigger cut from the sales. When Rustam threatened her for breach of agreement, Jia took him to court and was looking like she was going to win. Rustam was fuming about it and was heard saying, "I will get that bitch for this." Rustam was one of keen interest to the investigators. And also further, when Rustam's car was involved in a collision with another car only 2 blocks away from Jia's house. The driver of the vehicle stated Rustam smelt of alcohol, was driving in a hurry both before and after the accident, and looked nervous for most parts. Before the investigation could go further, the case was dropped by officials. Rustam had political connections, and it was possible a call was made to stop the investigation. Suspect number 4, the rival. Soni Thakur was one of the top singers in the 70s and 80s. Along with Jia, she produced some of the best songs and music during the 80s, which fitted perfectly with the arrival of pop and disco. However, Soni and Jia were not the best of friends. Soni was critical of Jia's music, stated it often encouraged cheating and rebelling. In an interview with a journalist, she stated, "I don't know why people would want to listen to music where they are talking about cheating, being okay, and not listening to your parents. I don't get it. How can you make music like that? People look up to you and see you as a role model, but hey, if it sells, then I guess money talks." When Jia was asked about this at one of her album launches, she stated, "I am only citing what is currently happening in society. Holding a mirror up to the world is a moral duty, and I don't think someone who has dirty laundry should be criticizing about others' clothes." The war of words continued, but Jia's sales were outselling Sony's, and this had made Sony paranoid, according to her ex-manager. In her book titled "Sony Not Always So," she wrote, "The pressure was on. She believed she was losing her spot and started to drink heavily and smoke under stress." To support the argument, critics point to how all of Jia's projects went to Sony, who insider state lobbied to secure her position, and after being questioned once took a bizarre step of moving to another city and taking out a court order for harassment from the police. She was never questioned again. 35 years later, and Jia Rana's death remains shrouded in mystery. Experts have believed, as have some law officials, that Jia was murdered. But the question is by whom? With suspects being like a Cluedo chess piece, it would need a reopening of the case and hard evidence to conclude who the killer was. Rani Jia's close friend, who has campaigned to have the case reopened, perhaps said it best, "The advances in investigation and technology would mean if the case was reopened, it could be solved and laid to rest. One can only hope that one day Jia's killer is brought to justice. Her legacy and music will live on. You can kill the person, but not the music."